Good afternoon. My name is Honor Feedy. I'd like to welcome you to this afternoon's webinar on year-round practical strategies that help with the Common Core. We're very pleased this afternoon to have with us Larry Bell with Multicultural America. He is one of our conference speakers who will be presenting on this topic, and he's going to give us a snapshot preview of that session. Let me turn it over to Larry.
Well, good afternoon, and it is a tremendous honor to have a chance to speak with the folks before the big conference and all, and so I am just happy to be able to share. The first thing I'd like to do is to just say a word about the topic, which is practical year-round strategy that help with Common Core. I am a big believer that it is necessary to have some type of standards that everyone in the nation is held accountable for. And having those same standards, I truly believe, can give students in some of the areas that I work with that are underprivileged and underfunded an equal chance and equal footing. So with that, let's get started with our topic of today. The first thing I would like to do is just to tell you a little bit about myself. The fact that I was a classroom teacher for 15 years at a large high school in Virginia called Garfield High School, Woodbridge, Virginia, about 30 miles south of Washington, D.C. And at Garfield, we had over 3,000 students in our building, and there were 36 different languages spoken in my earth science class every day. So I started out as a classroom teacher, and then I went into the central office, wonderful ones, as a supervisor of multicultural education for about 7 years there. And in that capacity, I worked with students and teachers from 67 different schools, 3,000 students, and actually 3,000 teachers, and 67,000 students. So it was a rather large district, and my job was to help teachers reach especially the children who struggled the most. For the last 15 or so years, I've been traveling the nation. I don't really like the term training teachers, although people call me a teacher trainer. But I've been traveling the nation, and what I've been doing is helping teachers reach students that they normally are not able to reach. And so everything you will get today, my friends, will be with a little bit of a twist of especially how do you help students who struggle academically and overall, and then when you put Common Core on top of that, which of course is a little bit more complex than some of the material, you know, I really want to help you to help those students that are struggling. Now, one of my little claims to fame is that I do help districts that struggle and with students that are not doing well. Carlisle wrote, "A great man, you know, shows his greatness by how he treats so-called lesser men." And so how do you help this big, complex animal called Common Core be understood by students who are already struggling with the regular curriculum? First of all, my friends, I say this. You want to infuse a simple system of excellence. And actually, you want multiple systems of excellence. For instance, one of the systems that you do not see there, my friends, is a system that involves creating a classroom culture of high expectation. When you are dealing with polysyllabic nomenclature, a vernacular with which students are not familiar, you want to get the idea out there that, you know, you can do it, so to speak. So the first system really is to get kids to understand that they can do this, that they can be great. Dr. Martin Luther King wrote, "We can all be great because we can all serve." Well, with that in mind, a simple system, for instance, before I get to the vocabulary on classroom culture, we call it 7-3-1. 7 times an hour, call your students good names. Call them wonderful. Call them outstanding. Call them my friend. For me, it's wonderful one. 7 times an hour, call them what you feel. Call them what you feel with your heart. And then 3 times an hour, You want to brag on them. Brag on your students because they're giving good effort. Brag on them because they're trying. Brag on them just being present. Start with the little things that you want them to do that moves them closer to academic excellence. So 7 times an hour, call them something good. 3 times an hour, brag. And then 1 time an hour, you want to be dramatic and say something like, I understand, it's just that I expect much better than this out of you. In other words, no excuses. I understand, it's just that I expect so much better than this out of you. So what you're doing, wonderful one, is you're creating a simple system of excellence that models your expectation. So that is that is an example of a system of excellence that will help you with Common Core because they need to be encouraged over and over and over again. Secondly, vocabulary. I'm going to talk about vocabulary in Common Core on the website itself. Here's what it says about vocabulary. Many of you, I'm sure, have already seen this, but it makes my point. The folks that put this together, the website together, says the importance of a powerful vocabulary to the success of students is difficult to overstate. They go on to say it is critical to nearly everything you work on in your English language arts classroom: reading, writing, speaking, and test prep. So I'm going to share some vocabulary words that I've been sharing all over the nation, which helps students to be able to understand the complex lessons that you're going to be teaching with Common Core. You've got to start with the vocabulary of the curriculum. You know, and some of these kids may seem like they can't do it, but Oliver Holmes once wrote this. He was that man's mind, once stretched by a new idea, never again regains its original size, shape, or dimension. So, wonderful one, I need y'all to plant some seeds. I need you to plant some seeds. I need you all out there in the sound of my voice to just get to digging. Just get to digging. All right, so vocabulary is the first thing. Secondly, reading comprehension. Wonderful ones. You've looked at that Common Core curriculum just as I have, and you know that these students must be able to not only read vast amounts of material, but to be able to understand what they have read. And I am so happy today to tell you that I have a reading comprehension strategy that's going to help those students do that. And then something that bugs me tremendously, my friends, when you're teaching something that's complex, that's in-depth, you must be able to do that in a logical, sequential manner that students will be able to grasp it step by step, and you can build on what they've learned before. I have such a 10-step lesson plan for you. And then when students don't understand something the first time, how do you go back and make sure that they learn it without repeating it the same way you taught it the first time? If they didn't get it that way the first time, come on, wonderful one. They're not going to get it that way the next time when you say it that same way. So what we're looking at doing is taking things that are nebulous in some students' mind, and therefore nefarious, and turn those things into things that are logical, concrete, sequential. We're going to work it today. Good googa mooga. We're going to get busy. Everybody out there, I hope you said to yourself, let's get busy. All right. Now, I want to give you, oh, I just love this stuff. I want to give you something you can use. We do these things in what, I call the Larry Bell schools that I work with over and over again. I work with some schools that piloted Common Core in some of the states, and this is an activity that helped a lot for teachers who were teaching Common Core. All right. It's a simple system of excellence, but it has 2 parts. Here's the thing. Every grade level should look at the curriculum that you're going to be presenting with Common Core. And then I want you to identify the intangibles. For instance, what are the vocabulary words that your grade level students are going to have to do? What are the action verbs? Look at the action verbs. Look at all the things that Common Core, the Common Core curriculum at your grade level is going to ask your students to do. Now, once you have recognized those, and you should really get together and do this in your PLC. That's one of the things I've noticed across the nation is that there are so many schools using PLCs. So get in your PLCs. Don't do this by yourself. Along what's built in a day, and you cannot do everything by yourself. So get together. What are the little things at your grade level? And then once you recognize what the actions are, what the requirement's going to be, quantify how many times a day you need to do something to help build up that skill in your students. You see, I'm not talking about teaching to a test. I'm talking about looking at things like vocabulary, math skills, and all that kids are going to be asked to do. And so you're going to identify those things, quantify how many times a day you need to do them, and then systemize it. How often should you do that? When and where? Put them in a system as a grade level. How are you going to attack these things? As a classroom teacher, how are you going to attack? What are some things you can get the parents to do to help you? So you identify intangibles, quantify them, and systemize them. And then, ladies and gentlemen, here is one other thing. And it's not always easy, to get complex things done. Frederick the Great, and one of my favorite autobiographies, wrote it this way, y'all. He wrote, Audace, toujours audace. Translation, audacity, and always audacity. In other words, we have to have the courage of our conviction. These kids need us. So another simple step that you can do to help students with this massive Common Core curriculum is to identify an activity or a skill that the students have to learn under Common Core, and break down the instruction or presentation of that into, say, 7 steps that the student can follow. Maybe it's something with reading comprehension. Maybe it's a math word problem. Maybe it's something, whatever it is, this action that would normally be tough for kids to master. Get in your PLCs. Work together, veteran teachers, new teachers, and have everyone come with, develop together a 7-step method. And say to everyone, well, when you teach this part of Common Core, this is our framework. Now, you can add more to it. You just can't do less than that, all right? All right, so moving on. One of the simple things that I have seen work tremendously is to have your school not just have a leadership team overall, but have a specialized leadership team for Common Core. I don't mean someone who just presents information on it, but someone who actually is in charge of helping with different types of activities that involve Common Core, an entire team of people. Here's why. Research is now showing that the most effective type of staff development one-to-one is teacher-driven. When I speak, I've been doing this for over 20 years, so I'm pretty young, but I've been doing it for 20 years on a national and international level. And with schools that I work with, my friends, the first thing I say to every principal is put together a leadership team on your most vexing and difficult issues. So, again, that most effective staff development is always teacher-driven. Another reason that you want to have a leadership team for Common Core is that it increases the level of buy-in from the staff. Number one, it shows them that you are serious about this. When you put together an entire team, you're serious. Secondly, it also helps those teachers see that I have someone who is on my grade level or in my department at high school. I was a high school teacher. Someone who's in my department that I can go to, that I can talk to about this without having to go to an administrator and get some help, get some ideas. Or I have someone that I can go to and say, hey, listen, I'm having some issues, but I don't want to be the one to go to the administrator. So you're on the leadership team. When next time you go, ask how we do this. But it increases the level of buy-in for everyone in the building. And next, and this is critical for Common Core, by having people experience success because the leadership team is helping to find answers, is leading the way and being positive. You know, Buddha wrote, be that which you expect of others. So if you want positivity in the building, have a leadership team that's modeling that and encouraging that throughout the building. And that comes to our next area, that leadership team will be modeling the, not just the strategies, but modeling the attitude that you want exemplified and typified there. All right? Teddy Roosevelt, in another one of my favorite autobiographies, once wrote it this way. He wrote that just do the best you can with whatever you have right where you are. And so with that type of attitude, that's the attitude you want modeled in that building by a leadership team of people. All right, and then also what I have found is that you then get a constant flow of ideas because you have a group of people who are on this thing from day one and stay with it. And they bring new ideas from themselves, also from people on one grade level or department, and can be shared throughout the building. Moving on. Now, my friends, this is the thing that I am probably best known for nationwide, and I guess even around the world. When you're doing Common Core, my friend, it is so important that we just push it for all it's worth, because there are students whose state tests were not up to that same level that other state tests were, all right? And so by pushing this thing, we can get everybody, I hope, up to speed. But these vocabulary words, these are my 12 powerful words. We sing them. We dance them. We inculcate these 12 words into everything that we do. Don't let polysyllabic nomenclature cost your students, number one, being able to understand the curriculum, but also cost you points on a test, on PARC or whatever, because they don't know what the question is answered. The importance of teaching, the importance of vocabulary and teaching Common Core, again, cannot be overstated. I want to talk to you about something that's laudable but lamentable. Here's what's laudable. What's laudable is that some teachers will speak one way to students all year long, but they use small words. They break it down for the kids. Now, that's laudable, but it's also lamentable, because if you speak down to kids with small vocabulary all year, at the end of the year, when it comes time for them to take an assessment, what are they going to be looking for? You know what they're going to be looking for. They're going to be looking for those same little small words they were taught all year. Instead, what do they see? They see words that are polysyllabic. They see words that are not just words, they're concepts. My 12 powerful words aren't just words, wonderful ones. They're actually entire concepts that have to be taught. And I love Common Core, and I say this in all open-heartedness. But folks, when you look at Common Core, it's almost like they sat down. I know they didn't. They probably didn't, but it's like they sat down and took my 12 vocabulary words that I'm going to ask and inculcate into everything. It's like they sat there and took my 12 words and inculcated those words throughout Common Core. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how pervasive you will find my 12 words in Common Core. So it's laudable to speak to kids one way, but it's lamentable because at the end of the year, they don't know what's being taught, what's being tested when they see it. It also makes it harder for them to understand the true curriculum when you start using the proper nomenclature. So wonderful ones, here we go. What are the 12 powerful words? Well, the first word, wonderful one, is trace, as in trace the development of the main character as they go through the story. And again, this word trace, you see it throughout every grade level of the curriculum with Common Core. So you want your students to practice using that word every day. What we have done in the Larry Bell School, this is Tracy Trace. We have characters so that kids can have fun with it. In high school, we tell students, I want you to use her as a cartoon character, as a superhero cartoon character, and develop a little story around what she can do with that magic pen to trace the development, things like that. So what do we say about trace? It means what? To list in steps, all right? Step by step, from beginning to end, etc. You want your school, my friends, to talk about all the way, and again, have your grade level, each grade level, go through the curriculum at the grade level. Find all the ways that trace is mentioned. What's our next one? Analyze. This is Anna, analyze. And what she does is very simple. It is her job to go in and break down big things, or break things apart. And folks, let's be serious here for just a second. Not only is analyze pervasive throughout Common Core, when you look at the SAT, the ACT, the LSAT to be a lawyer, the MCAT to be a doctor, come on, my friends. Analyze is there. And this, again, is one of those higher order thinking words and concepts. All of these words are. Your students must be able to analyze the characters' faults in one story and compare those and contrast those to the faults in another character in another story. We see that on the Park assessment. We see that, and so all throughout the year, these are things that the kids must be familiar with. Our next word is infer. And one time I said to one of the students, infer, and the kid said, the only time you'll see me infer is if there is snow on the ground. And I had to stop and think about that. My other favorite, I work with a lot of kids in low-income areas. One kid said, infer. My brother's in for 20 years, and which brought a smile to my face. But I'm so happy to report to you that those same students, because we made sure they knew these words inside out, those same students were able to avoid the kind of situations that their parents were in. This is Ivan Infer, and to help them to be able to rise above their circumstances. So infer, of course, number one answer, read between the lines. How about this one? What do you think they're trying to say? We often see, you know, in a question on Park, it'll say, infer from the opening paragraph, you know, what the author's hidden agenda is all about, all right? So that's a thing with infer right there, all right? Okay, so moving on to our next word, evaluate. Evaluate is something that it's a skill that you really want to work with kids on. This is Evan. This is Evan Evaluate. And Evaluate, of course, you can tell You can tell by the way he's dressed, it means to judge, evaluate. Evaluate the opening paragraph for author inconsistency. Evaluate. So all of these we have motions for. If you will take your hand and place it flat, your left hand flat, take your right hand, make a fist, lift it up about 6 inches from your hand and bring it up your hand. That is the judge bringing down the gavel. So evaluate. That's one of the motions if you're in elementary, teacher or principal. That's evaluate to judge. All right? So we have a motion for every one of those. We have songs for all of them too. Moving on. Formulate. Formulate a hypothesis. This is free to formulate. Formulate a hypothesis explains why the main character's flaws will not be an issue. So for formulate, build, create, come up with. What you want, wonderful ones, is that every student can give you 5, 6, 7 different ways to formulate a hypothesis, to do this higher level thinking. So I'm going to give you some ways at the end of giving you the words. I'm going to give you some ways that you can inculcate this naturally into what you're doing. But these are the 12 words, all right? All right. Now, my friends, let me tell you, this next word, you cannot wait, to jump on what I'm giving you. Dr. Martin Luther King, in his letter from a Birmingham jail in 1963, wrote this about the word wait. He wrote the word wait is like a tranquilizing thalidomide because it eases the pain for the moment, but often gives birth to an ill-formed infant of frustration. In other words, wonderful ones, the longer we wait to get something done for these children, the further behind they will be. Don't worry about the tough stuff. We have too many people, too many teachers, swimming in blessings and drowning in complaints. And this word you're looking at is a word that is on practically every assessment and every curriculum where they have to describe what they have read. Describe the feelings. Describe. Wonderful one. Tell me all about it. But for describe, listen, I want to give you a system. I want to give you a system that will help these students understand describe, all right? And the system is this. Whenever they have to describe something, tell them you're not finished describing until you give me the 5 W's and the H. Now, I'm sure everybody out there knows the 5 W's and the H, but I'm going to say them anyway because that's what I'm supposed to do, all right? So bear with me. For the 5 W's and H, it's who, you can say them with me if you want. It's who, what, when, where, why, and how. And you're not finished there. You see, Common Core is complex, so you do need some complex things to help kids deal with that. You're not finished there. Now, what you want to do, tell the students, for every one of those 5 things, I want at least 3 supporting statements from the reading that back that up, all right? At least one, except for the gift that we asked for 5. Now, why is that wonderful one? Why do you wonder why do you want 5 for the gift? Because to those to whom, with Google, to those to whom much is given, Lord have mercy, much, you know the rest. Much is required or expected. Don't get me started. Describe. But that's a big one because a lot of the lower achievers, my friends, if a teacher says describe what you read in that book, they will write 1 or 2 sentences and swear they're finished. Let's move on. Support. Now, support the author's contention. What am I asking you to do? If you want to stand up and do this, you can. Stand up, put your hands on your hip, and bend over and just back it up because that's how we do this. Look, we have fun in Larry Bell School. We back that thing up, all right? We have fun in our workshop. That's why I want you to come to my workshop when you come out to Long Beach. We get busy and have a little fun. We learn and get after it. But we get busy and have a little fun. But support, back it up. Back it up with detail. All right, give me reasons. That's why Luther Vandross Don't act like you don't know who Luther is. Luther Vandross wrote that song. Give me the reason to love you, girl. Give me reasons for it. Have fun. If you have fun with Common Core, instead of dreading it and fearing it, if you have fun, students will have fun. All right? All right. So we're moving on. Support. That is a big one. And here's the other one. Explain. Describe and explain. We do it the same way. Okay? For explain, I want the 5 W's and the H. And then I want 3 supporting statements for each one. Except when they're gifted, I want how many? You got it. I want 5. All right. So explain. All right. And so here's our explain superhero. And, of course, tell me why. All right. Tell me how. EXPLAIN. Tell me why. Tell me how. Spell it again. EXPLAIN. Tell me why. Tell me how. Spell it again. How tall is that building? How fast is that tree? What kind of cells does the skin contain? Explain. PLAIN. So we make up all kinds of little things. Imagine you're a high school student having to create a wrap around each one of those doggone words. They will not fear them when the teachers use them when they're teaching that curriculum. Summarize. This is Sammy Summarize. I love this little fellow. He's wonderful. He's wonderful. He gives us the short version. Summarize. Back in the day, if you're old enough to remember when TV was TV, I don't mean no harm to the young folks, but back in the day, there was a TV show called Dragnet, and the man would say just the facts. So that's how we summarize it, just the facts, the short version. All right, and then these, and this is huge, because, ladies and gentlemen, Common Core and the Park assessments really require kids to read one reading and another reading and compare the main characters in each one of those. Compare their faults, compare the settings. So for compare, ladies and gentlemen, we want the kids to tell us all the ways, and I do mean all. That's the key word there. What are all the ways that they're alike? What are all the ways that they're similar? Okay? And then, of course, contrast. Notice our character there. I love this gentleman. Notice the different way that his clothes are made. There's different contrast within his one little uniform. As you can see, we use these in my books and all my presentations. All the ways, there's that word again, that things are different. All the ways that they are dissimilar or not the same. All right? All right. So I want to move on here. Ooh, now predict. And again, these are the 12 words that I have found trip students up over and over and over again. And I've been teaching them for 20 years, wonderful one. It's just that on any good curriculum, you're going to find these. But you can do this, folks. Plato, in Plato's Republic, wrote it this way. He will take a step out on, he will take charge of your thoughts. And you can do what you will with them. And Polonius and Shakespeare wrote it this way, this above all else. To thine own self be true. All right. Predict. Think about the future. All right. What will happen next? So one of the things I suggest when you come to my workshop is to share with me some of the ways you think your teachers or colleagues could take these words and inculcate them naturally every day. And using the characters, and notice we have diverse characters, men, women, everyone. We let all God's children know that you are capable. And so we represent all God's children. And one of the things I tell my teachers in all the Larry Bell schools is that every teacher can reach and teach any child they put in front of you. It's not about the money in the home. It's not about the color of anybody's skin. The difference is exposure to exposure, especially expose them to vocabulary that they can use and reading comprehension, which will come into here in a minute. Exposure. Every person of every background can teach everybody of every background because high expectations transcend race, they transcend gender, They're advanced in economics. But just give them the tools that they need like I'm giving to you, and you can get it done. Good, googa, mooga. You can get it done. Everybody just say, to yourself. Woo, I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. Now, my friends, here's what you've been waiting for. How do you, Larry, take schools that have never made AYP and help them make AYP in less than a year? And if you think I'm blowing smoke, on my website, you'll see all that stuff. There are hundreds of these schools. And just email them and I said, you can do it. But I want you to know this is how you do it, my friend, because I've been doing this for 20 years and teaching me getting it done. So wonderful one. Here's the first thing with the 12 powerful words. First of all, by January 19th, you want every student in your building to, first of all, be able to say each one of the 12 words clearly, enunciate clearly. Next, they must be able to spell the word. This is on demand in the hallway. If somebody stops them, next, they must be able to define the word. What does it mean? Okay? That's why you want them to be able to make songs out of it. That's why you want them to practice writing it every day. They got to say it, spell it, define it. Now, let's go to the higher levels of metacognition. Next, you want that child every day that Lord says to have to sit down and be able to create a sentence using that word. Put them in groups of twos and let them practice doing this. Ladies and gentlemen, familiarity breeds contempt. When they're familiar with these words and then they see them on the test, they can get it done. But please do all these things with passion. There's a Negro spiritual that sums it up better than the words I can tell you. There's a Negro spiritual that says, through all the storm, through all the rain, through all my tears, good googa mooga, through all my pain, after all the things I've been through, I still have joy. Let these students know you have joy for them. Let them know when you do the 12 words, do it with joy in your heart. Lord have some joy in your heart. You have joy, make them say it, spell it, define it, form the sentence, form the question, and give them extra credit. All right? And then, my friend, here's another caveat for you. Remember when I said much earlier that I wanted you to identify other words, other action verbs at the grade level? Why don't you also use my Fab 5 to teach those too? Do mine until January 19th, and then every grade level should add in 6 more. Still do mine. Oh my gosh. But add in 6 more. I'm moving on. Here is how you do it. My book is entitled 12 Powerful Words That Increase Test Scores and Upload Achievement Gap. There are 88 different instructional strategies in the book. I'm going to give you the top 3. First, put them on every test you give, but beside them, put what it means. I want these students all year long to see these words on every test you give. Next, I want you to model the words. You use the words. It's very prescient of you, very fortuitous for them. Look, I'm in the ubiquitous position of being able to travel this nation and help people close the gap because I was in the gap. Here is how you do it. Now comes the big one. Einstein wrote it this way, didn't he? He wrote that creativity is more important than knowledge. I want you to be creative. I want you to develop songs. We have all kinds of songs. I'm an old Motown guy. Some of you probably figured that out by some of the little things I say. I'm a Motown guy. I created a song that said, I've got 12 words for a hard test. And I just go on and do that. We've got a DVD that has 12 words on it. We got some. Have your students, you don't have to buy a thing. Have your students use their own songs. Can you trace? Can you trace? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Follow the steps. Follow the steps. I can trace. Work it. I can trace. Look, they can do all 12 words. Have them do it. Use a little poetry. Be creative. I'm moving on. I'm moving on. Now, my friends, those are my 12 words. In my session, I'm going to give you a plethora, a myriad. You're going to get a cornucopia of these strategies so you can be a fiduciary for learning for every child. My friend, we can get this done, and Common Core can help. But one of the most insidious and pernicious issues facing these students when they have to do a lot of reading, when they come to us 2 or 3 years behind, has to do with reading comprehension. Now, I can really go into depth in this in my session at Long Beach. You got to come to Long Beach so I can meet you. You got to see me in person. You don't want to miss this. I get busy. You got to see this. I model the passion, as Arnold trying to say. You know, I'm crazy. I'm not, but it's okay to be a crazy educator. People don't bother you when they think you're crazy. Anyhow, I model the way it should be in that classroom. Anyway, I want to show you now the hardest thing for some of these students, and then they go take part in those long, long reading passages. How do you help them? With stories and with test taking. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. One of the biggest mistakes is just saying to students, here, read this and answer the question. All right, what you need is a logical, sequential, 8-step method to help students go through long reading passages that they have to do that makes their thinking visible to you. Here's what we call it. We call it Unravel. And it has these steps to it. Here's the first thing. First of all, my friends, when they've got a long reading passage, you always use release type items. Release state test items, release part items, put them up on your whiteboards and all that. And that's what they're there for. And have the kids first underline the title. Why? That way they read it. A lot of students try to answer stuff and go on. You can learn a lot about a reading by looking at the title. Yes. Next, now predict what this story is going to be about. Suppose it was a poem called Mother to, Son by Langston. You got it, Langston Hughes. You underline the title. Now predict the passage. It's going to be a mother talking to her what? Her son, of course. Now, what do? Have them run through and number the paragraphs. My friends, fortunately now, most of the books and tests number those paragraphs. I've been pushing this for 20 years. When they number the paragraphs, you can talk to them. You're all speaking the same what? You got it, the same language. You can say, look at paragraph number 5 and compare it to paragraph number 9. Tell me give me a comparison and contrast it for me. But a child can raise their hand and say, I don't understand paragraph number 3. You can do that with them, all right? I'm moving on. Once they number the paragraphs, now here's what makes it. Are you reading the questions? Make them read the questions first before they go through all that reading. Why? Because many times now it'll let them know what they're looking for, especially with all these long readings that they have to do. Make them know what they're looking for. Are you reading the question? Read them in advance. This way and now they're reading with a what? You got it. They're reading with a purpose. You're wonderful. You are so smart. I want you to say to yourself, I am one smart cookie. Lord have mercy. Don't get me started. I'm moving on. But they read the question, but watch this wonderful one. Now, are the important words what? Especially in the question. So you make them circle the important word in the why. It makes sure that they totally understand the question. See, this is reading comprehension. I'm going to make sure, y'all, I'm going to show you how to make sure they not only understand the doggone reading passage, they understand the questions before they even tackle the doggone what? Passage. Look at all the things you've asked them to do, and you haven't even asked them to do what yet, y'all? To read the passage. So they circle that. Now watch this right here. Now, here is the difference in passing and failing. Here's the difference. In passing and understanding Common Core, because there's so much reading with it. When they read a passage, Oh, wait, back up to all you reading the questions. Wonderful one. To make sure they comprehend the question, do this. Out in the margin to the left of that first A, all right, which is all important. Are you reading the question? Make them summarize the question in their own what? You got it. And that's my 12 word again, one with 12 words. Summarize the passage in your own what? Words. Yes, summarize the question in your own words. So they got to summarize the question. Now let's move down where it says into this passage. Here's the thing. Now they start reading the passage, but if they're third grader, after every 3 paragraphs, they got to stop and summarize the first 3 paragraphs in their own what? There it is again. This way you know they comprehend what they're reading. We're breaking it. A teacher can walk around and say, whoa, 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 whoa. You totally misunderstood what was going on there. Let's go back over to explain what. And if you see the whole class is doing that, you go back into class. Too many of you are not getting the first 3. Do that. If you're a 4th grader, after the first 4 paragraphs, stop. Okay? And then they have to summarize the first 4. If they're a 9th grader, 9 paragraphs and a summary. Look how much easier it will be to summarize the entire reading when you've got these little summaries out into the margin anyway, especially when you got to compare that with another whole story over yonder, so to speak. I'm from the South. We say over yonder. Excuse my ungrammatical profundity. I'm just exhibiting a little bit of passion for this. But when they've got this story to do and then go to that one, I've got a summary over here of these things. Now I can work the other. It just helps the kids that struggle. It makes a difference. Now, the last couple of steps, because I'm running out of time, okay? But my last couple of steps, I want to eliminate the obviously silly answer. These last 2 steps, wonderful ones, are for the A. That last one should be an L, which is let the questions be answered. So if you eliminate, hey, we all make mistakes, don't we? I'm only human. Good Google, Moogle, I'm only human. So eliminate the obviously silly answer. So if I'm doing number 1, I'm going to cross out the obviously. So if A is silly, cross it out. Eliminate the this is you paying attention, won't it? Eliminate the obviously silly answer. All right, that's one thing. But the L that's missing is let the questions be answered. This is my first time doing this. You can probably tell. Let the questions be answered. Okay, that's what they all speak. But notice what I say there: practice on release items only, because the nomenclature and the vernacular are the same. All right. Okay. When you if you're getting ready for that. Okay. So that's our unravel. That's one of them. Okay. Now in my session in Long Beach, I will be able to show you the math unravel and the writing unravel. Okay. All right. So let me see. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, this is self-explanatory, and I'm glad because I got about 4 minutes left before I ask a question. Ladies and gentlemen, please look at these 10 steps. If you have to complete, if you have to present a complex strategy or skill that kids need to learn, whether it's something like problem solving, understanding how the Constitution came about, here's how you do it. First, totally immerse the students in the subject. Put up pictures. Let them bring in work on it. Give them work to do before you actually start teaching it. Totally immerse them. And then show them the connection to real life or the relevancy of that subject. And then demonstrate the finished product. What will they know? What do they need to know when this is over? My friends, you need to have 5 or 6 different ways to engage these students. Engage them. Make sure they're engaged in learning. Don't just lecture to them like I've had to do to you. Okay? All right. But make sure that the unit, what are the expectations that you have of them and of yourself? Number 3, you demonstrated the finished product. But number 5, here are all the things here are the 4 things you're going to do. Here are the 4 things I'm going to do. But also, number 6, show them what you want them to do that you can't do for them. Number 7, please give partial credit. Please do that. It'll help them work. This 10-step process it may take a week to complete it. For some things, it might take only 2 days or 3 days. Others, this might be a month-long process. But throughout the process, give partial credit, please. And then please give them the opportunity, number 8, to practice it. If you want them to really master it, practice opportunities as a group. And number 9 is make sure that they have the chance to respond and ask you questions individually. So number 8 is more of a thing. You can do it as a group, as a class, groups of 2, groups of 3. But number 9 is important. They get a chance to say something. And then number 10, assess how well they learned it, and then assess how well you taught it. That's 2 different things. Y'all are wonderful. I know wonderful. When I hear it through silence, I just know wonderful. All right? Okay. If you have a question, last part. These are ways to review. I want to make sure I do that. So here's how you review. If the kids didn't get it the first time, here are 10 things. I'm going to give you 32 in my session when you come out to Long Beach. All right? So, but here's 10. Okay. So here's where I'll be. And at this point, are there any questions?
Hi, Larry. Yeah, I'd like to encourage everybody to keep writing in your questions. We do have several that have come up. Let me start with the first one. Larry, how can the reading comprehension strategy be used with students in the lower grades?
Okay. I can just say the answer, correct? Okay. It's designed for lower grades. As a matter of fact, we call it remember. And for preschool to grade 2, when you do a story, you read a story, before you read it, you say, like, the title of this book is The Little Engine That Could. Can y'all say The Little Engine That Could? That is the same as teaching the first step of Unravel, all right, which is by restating it, all right? That's like underlining it. And a quick answer to that, too. If they will Google the word Unravel, they will get millions of examples of how to use it in the upper level and the lower level. But it really was designed for lower level. It was really designed for special ed kids that were 2 or 3 years behind. It's just that regular education teachers took it and said, you know what? I can use this for regular ed students at their own grade level.
That's great.
Okay?
That's great. Thank you. Another person writes in, how can your strategies be adapted to meet the needs of special education and ESOL students?
It was designed for them. And here's what you do. Okay, to help you with it, it was designed for ESL and especially for special ed students, because you may have to teach 1 step per day. You can also have the kids do this. Have the students do the steps, do the words and steps, but let them make symbols for each one of them so they can learn them quicker. And especially through song, for special ed and ESL, they learn the 12 words through song. They learn each step through songs. So let them go ahead and put a symbol beside it, make their own definitions with it. And for special ed, take index cards and let them write each word on an index card and play Go Fish. It really helps them to internalize it. Go fish with a special ed kid. What you may have to do is unravel 1 step at a time and over a series of days with it. Okay? All right, so with ESL and special ed, make their own symbols, do songs, and use the hand motions in all. Make the motions up. Go online and look to see all the motions. Go ahead.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Another question comes in from, you've talked a lot about strategies for teachers with regard to the Common Core. Can you give me some tips for administrators? For what should the principal be doing to help support their teachers with regard to implementation of the Common Core?
Systemize everything. Systemize everything. So, well, if you're going to help your teachers with Common Core, recognize the 3 pillars I've given you today. First is the culture. Let no negativity seep in about Common Core in your building. So you want in every classroom that the teachers are doing positive things, saying positive words. If you're back to school, have the teacher develop what are 3 things they're going to say and do that are going to epitomize the culture in the entire building in regards to Common Core. You're wonderful. You can do it. We can handle this Common Core. It's something that's going to help us down the road. Systemize that, and then systemize the way teachers are using vocabulary. Systemize it. Have a certain time of day that we're all going to stop, say in elementary. We're going to stop in the first 10 minutes of every day. We're going to do some vocabulary with these 12 words, or whatever words you ought to come up with. We're going to systemize it. And then as a principal, you want them to email you all of the things they're coming up with, and then you email them out to every grade level so that everybody can see what everybody else is doing and be able to use that. But systemize the use of vocabulary. And then next, excuse me, the reading comprehension unraveled. Systemize that in the PLC. They should have to turn into you the strategies they're using. Am I doing it at the beginning of class, in the class? Get everybody on the same page. Also, another thing administrators can do with Common Core, you need to ask your staff, what are the most vexing issues that you are facing with Common Core? And then let's put our heads together, and we'll come up with some things as a school. But then I'm also going to bring in some staff development around issues that seem to be pervasive throughout the building. And so ask what the issues are and help them deal with those and ways to do that. But my main answer for Common Core is systemize what you're doing. Systemize advances. Somebody invented something, came with an idea. Make sure everybody in the building has that. And if you think it's real good, then you tell them, I love you, but this is required. We're all going to do this.
Great.
That's the big answer for me. We have too many administrators letting teachers do their own thing and come with their own ideas. Systemize the good stuff. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So you've probably heard that there's a lot of frustration out there with that implementation. Are there any
Yes.
supports that you can recommend that principals can use with their teachers to kind of help get over that frustration?
I don't mean to be sounding self-serving here, but you've got to attend the Long Beach conference. Come to conferences. Go to where they're giving that information. Take 4 or 5 of your positive teachers with you. Sit in there and ask these kinds of tough questions and be very specific. We have to be general here because, we have all different levels of folks out there who have, tuned in with us, so to speak. But I suggest the principal that frustration. Identify the frustration very clearly, and then get to the Long Beach conference and get these people in a room and say, look, you're teaching this. I want some specific answers here. Give them to me. That's one of the big things I recommend. But you have to do it in depth. You have to do it without being negative, as far as get the teacher. Tell them, I don't want a bunch of gripes. Tell me what the problems are. Tell me what you will come up with, and then let's go out here together and find some answers together.
That's great. Well, Larry,
because there are answers out there to be had.
That's wonderful. We only have about a minute left. Are there any last-minute tips? I know you had some resources on that last slide there, right? And you want to give any tips to our audience here?
All right. On my screen are some additional resources that I've been using with people in my Common Core states. And, these, if somebody needs me to email them to them or what have you, I can do that. Or come to my session, I'll give them to you. I don't mind sharing these. Marzano, his what works in schools, translating research into action. You just have to be able, as I have done, to find the parts of Common Core that match up with the different resources you see here. You can email me, all right, or go to my website. I have materials there. I would love to meet you in person at Long Beach. I am as crazy in person as you see here, but I do have a lot of strategy. I want to go back, no I don't, to that form that said additional resources. And there were a lot of things on there that can help you. But if there's anything specific, I would just say don't be frustrated. Don't give up, all right? And take it a day at a time and look at the positives that you have that you've done already, okay? And build on the positives that you have in place as opposed to, you know, letting people dwell on what's negative. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time and your wonderful expertise in this Common Core area. I do, on behalf of NAESP, I do encourage everybody to attend our conference. I think I agree with you, Larry. I think there's a lot out there and there's a lot of help to be had. So with that, this session will close for this afternoon. We have recorded it. It should be available on our website next week. So please check back, and also please check out our conference website at www.naesp.org. Thank you very much, Larry.
Thank you. You're wonderful, and all y'all are wonderful. Stay wonderful.